Hello, everyone. What is it? June 9th, 2022. And we will get ready to go ahead and kick off the Ask Me Anything. Just getting a couple last minute things organized here so I sound coherent. Okay, so let's go. Hope everyone's doing well. And I have to say this big thank you. Somebody sent me a really cool Ember mug, to one for my wife as well. You know who you are. That was profoundly kind and generous and unnecessary, and thank you very much. And my coffee is wonderfully hot at the moment, so it's going to be a great day. Let's go ahead and dive right in. I've got a couple questions pulled from the CrossFit Linchpin, the private Facebook group, and then a couple questions pulled from, I also posted in the squads feature on the BTWB app, and people posted there as well. Melanie, I see you. Good morning. All right, here we go. First most upvoted one. Do a bit of scrolling. It's always somewhere else. Here we go. This is from Valerie L. She says, I've been watching a lot of older CrossFit educational videos on YouTube, and obviously you are involved in a lot of them. In the last decade, I'm certain your views on fitness and CrossFit have evolved. Are there any videos or articles that you wish you could remove from the internet, or wish you could add updates to? Or any opinions that you held firm about at the beginning of CrossFit that your thinking has done a 180 on? Cool question. Really good question. Well, I guess the short answer is both yes and no. I'm sure if I saw in one easy to put or easy to find area every video that I was associated in, and I'm sure there'd be a bunch that I would be like, yeah, great, still there 100%, and a couple like, you were a bit off base on that, or your thinking hadn't quite evolved enough, or you didn't have enough experience under your belt, or yeah, talking about myself, like, yeah, you kind of got the point across, but it was a little rough and missing some nuances that would have been far more beneficial to people. I'm sure that that's out there as well. It's been 16 or 17 years now of doing CrossFit, basically nonstop, learning about it, reading about it, programming it, interacting with others, the whole 9 yards. And I am 100% a believer and a proponent of that saying, and I don't know who said it, so I can't give them credit, but I didn't come up with it, that basically, if 10 years has gone by, and you're still the same person that you were 10 years ago, that you've wasted a decade, in large part, right? Because 10 years is a long time for you to be learning, evolving, having different experiences, ideally gaining more knowledge and insight. And so if 10 years goes by and you're like, nope, I'm the same person I was 10 years ago. Like, maybe that's possible, but I'd find it a little suspect. So it's a yes and a no. While I don't have specific videos to point to, I was certainly a lot more crass and vulgar in previous years, and anybody who's watched me in some old CrossFit YouTube videos is probably perplexed by the fact that I don't curse or cuss these days in any videos, and I was prolific back in the day. So that's probably something that I wouldn't mind that if I cleaned that up a bit. I go back and see some of those videos and listen to myself sometimes, and I'm like, not really impressed with myself right now. Yeah, don't know if that was the best way to deliver that message. So hey, we're all a work in progress, right? We're all a work in progress. So anyway, while I don't have specific videos to mention to you, I do have just some general ideas and thoughts that maybe have either stayed the same or evolved a little bit as 16, 17 years have gone by. Okay, so things that have remained true no matter how many years have gone by, and I feel are relatively unwavering, and I've got nothing else to add on those topics. Number one is that constantly varied functional movements at high intensity, that is the path to true fitness. I've been extraordinarily blessed over the last 16 years to be, to travel all around the world, meet literally thousands and thousands of people, hear all of their stories from all walks of life, all sports backgrounds, all manners of academia, like you name it. And if I thought something else worked better than constantly varied functional movements at high intensity to drive true fitness, true GPP, I'd be doing it and I'd be telling you all about it. I haven't found anything. So that has been just rock solid since the entire time. The other thing is, so what I just said there is constantly varied functional movements at high intensity is the true path to fitness. Well, that word at the end there, fitness, for the longest time, that was just a fluff word, right? Defined in the dictionary by just saying the state of being fit, which is absolutely meaningless and you can't measure it. When CrossFit came in and defined what fitness is, when Greg Glassman wrote that What is Fitness article, I think it was in 2002, if you want to go back into the CrossFit Journal and search for the What is Fitness article, that is the other thing that to this day, I just think everybody should read. It is an absolute game changer for the entire fitness landscape as far as I'm concerned. And that was in 2002, 3 years before I even knew about CrossFit or started doing CrossFit. And so I would say constantly varied functional movements at high intensity and what fitness truly is as defined by Glassman in that article. Those are foundational bedrocks. That's it. They are what they are. So the other things that maybe have changed a bit, and I'll get into the list of things in my opinion, in my experience, that have evolved and adapted a bit in all those years from my experience. But I'll give that example that I've given in another video, which is constantly varied functional movements at high intensity. Think of each one of those as a big rock. Constantly varied is a big rock, functional movements is one, high intensity is one. And the other big rock is what is fitness. And you've got a glass jar or something, and those 4 big rocks barely fit in the jar. Okay, you can just get the lid on, but you certainly could not fit another rock in there. Period, end of story. Now, what you could fit in that jar, if you're picturing it, is you could put some gravel in there, right? Significantly smaller pieces of rock, and that would fill up some spaces around the big rocks. And then once you had the gravel in there, you could put sand in there, and the sand would filter down through the big rocks and through the pieces of gravel, and then the jar would be full. So I have some things to add that I would consider gravel size pieces and sand as well. But those large major foundational building blocks that are filling the glass container, those are rock solid and bomb proof as far as I'm concerned, and they're beautiful. So now I'll talk about the gravel and the sand, which is funny because while those things are important, they're nowhere near as important as those big chunks. The big chunks really drive the needle significantly, and then us talking about the gravel and the sand can really have it fit and adapt and optimize your life, your experience, your fitness journey, okay? So here we go. Some things that I have evolved in a little bit over the years, and my goal with all of these videos that we do, and I think this is like Linchpin Conversations number 271, 272, so there's been a lot of these, is to ideally impart the knowledge about the big rocks, the gravel, and the sand, and distill it down in a way that is digestible for the average user, the recreational gym goer, so that you have a better experience in the gym. So the things that I have evolved on a little bit over time is truly understanding and ideally helping other people understand what relative intensity is. When I first got into CrossFit, I was just right out of the military, just hard charging all the time, had one speed, it was 100%. Anything other than that was just despicable as far as I was concerned. Every day, every workout should be a near-death experience where you almost black out, you can't talk at the end, you're hyperventilating, laying in a pool of sweat, your legs don't work for 10 minutes. I mean, it's laughable now when I say that out loud, but I would be lying if I said that that wasn't me 15, 16 years ago. It most certainly was. And it is absolutely not the recommendation that I would give anybody who wants to be doing this for a long time. So thank goodness I was able to remove my cranium from my anus as early on as I did, or I probably wouldn't be standing here right now still doing it 16 or 17 years later. So hopefully, again, this knowledge helps other people. And that relative intensity piece, it's just meeting the athlete where they are, right? It's intensity, but it's based on the physical and psychological limitations of each individual. And so it's not a one size fits all. That's the interesting thing about really developing a more sophisticated or nuanced understanding of CrossFit, is while the methodology is just, you could just stamp it. It is what it is. True. But then your unique little recipe to make that constantly varied functional moves at high intensity just hum in your life, to just optimize perfection, that requires just us to have these conversations and you to do a little bit of experimenting. And all of a sudden, through experimenting and learning, you get into that wonderful place where you're where you need to be and you'll be humming forever. And so I learned, and now I've been very open. I do a modulating intensity video every Friday for the Linchpin community, and I post it in the private Facebook group and in the BTWB squads, and where I basically look to the upcoming week's workouts and I give my plan, which doesn't have to be everybody else's plan, as to how I plan to attack those workouts regarding intensity. And the plan is not to go 100% every single workout. Absolutely not. Out of 5 workouts, which is what I do every week, the plan is usually for me to go hardcore on 2 out of the 5. So that's only 40%, right? I mean, that's far from going 100% all the time. It's only 40% of the workouts I do, like, seriously attacking. The other 2, I probably go at a moderate intensity, and then one's probably a heavy day in there, and I'm lifting whatever feels heavy that day. So, and that works for me really, really well, and it drives improvement, and it's sustainable, and that's a big thing. And there's the next point that has been evolving for the last 16, 17 years, is I'm always trying to find and continually polish ideal programming that balances the ability to drive improvement for the population, yet is sustainable. There's that beautiful sweet spot that if you don't give people enough, well, you have to strain the body. You have to provide a stimulus and tax it a bit, from which you recover and come back a bit fitter, faster, and stronger. So if you provide too little, we don't get that adaptation. If you provide too much, well, then you just unnecessarily beat people down, tire them out. It's potentially injurious to your knees, back, and shoulders. And if you're tired all the time, well, guess what you can't do? You can't walk into the gym with the intensity that you need to drive your fitness forward. And intensity is what drives fitness forward. So the whole more is better and just making tough workouts every day just beat people down, it's actually so counterproductive that I find it tough to describe. It's profoundly counterproductive. So the goal of beautiful, elegant programming is to find that incredible sweet spot, and that's the goal, and that's a continual process. Also, things that have evolved over the last 15 to 17 years is doing workouts, and we post one of these every week in Linchpin, not for time. Shocking, right? I mean, I'm a CrossFit purist. Trust me, I understand the value of the clock. But I also just started programming. I didn't know how it would be received in the CrossFit community, if it'd be heresy. I started programming a not for time workout once a week. Obviously, you can do any workout that you want on any day not for time. You are always authorized to do that. You're in charge, not me. But some people just like the authorization to do it. Like, hey, this is our not for time workout today. I'm going to not run the clock. That has been, once a week, so liberating, so freeing of both my body and my mind. I mean, my soul as well. Like, it just feels good and it's fun. You go into the gym, you move at whatever darn pace that you want, break up the sets, who cares? You don't run the clock, and that just helps you, instead of living under the suffocating pressure of the clock every single workout, every day of your life. That also has been something that the entire Linchpin community has rallied behind and let me know that it was a good call, of just helping sustainability it's not sustainable, and you're not having fun, and you're not enjoying or looking forward to walking out into the garage, you're not going to be doing this thing 1 to 5 years later. And I want you to be doing it 1 to 5 years later. I want you to be doing it 15 years later. So the Not for Time has been great. And then I can't take credit for this. This is some of the wonderful people in the Linchpin community. So we call the Not for Time as NFT, Not for Time. Well, then something started popping up in some people's posts, which was KFT, which was kind of for time, which I love so much. And it's just that, I'm running the clock, okay, it's there, it's on, but I'm not moving like the devil's chasing me. I'm just, if I want to take a little break, take a little break, I'm pushing myself a little bit, but I'm not getting crazy. I did it kind of for time. I love the kind of for time. Love it. And again, you're still doing functional movements. You're still operating at some level of intensity. It ain't low intensity, and you're still doing intelligent programming with variance. You're going to be okay. And if it keeps you happy and it keeps you smiling, and then doing some workouts not for time and doing some workouts kind of for time allow you to feel good, well, then when that day comes that you're like, I'm going to get after it today, both your body and your mind are probably ready to get after it, and you can bring the heat. And since intensity helps drive results, I think you're going to find that you have a very good experience. So that has been something that has evolved over time. Let's see. I have rediscovered a love of some things, and this has been through some conversations, some geeking out, some reading, whatnot, over many years of intervals. And anybody at Linchpin may have just started smiling. You know that we have a love-hate relationship with intervals. It's something that I very intentionally put in on a regular basis. And again, getting back to what helps drive results. Well, intensity does. Every workout is a big, long sweat sesh grinder, which, don't get me wrong, you need to do those, okay? You need to do those. Then, but the other side of it is, we've got to have those short and sharp intentional days as well to help you express intensity, and all done, in this intelligent symphony that all works together, life's really good. So that's something I feel on top of the not for time and the kind of for time, which, I do almost feel like, you don't see those too frequently. I hadn't seen those anywhere other than we started, posting them. I'm sure somebody has, so I'm not saying that I'm the first person to make workouts not for time. That's not what I'm saying, but I think to just put it out there on such a regular basis and being like, this is how we roll and it's a good thing. Yeah, I do feel like, that was a good thing that came out of the community. And also the intervals as well. We're not afraid. And that's intervals with both single modality, like we're just sprinting, just doing row sprints, just doing bike sprints, just doing, foot sprinting, but also mixed modality sprints. I program in there as well, where it might be, whatever, 9 bar-facing burpees, 7 deadlifts at a certain weight, bang, immediately into a 400-meter sprint. And then you're going to rest 3 or 4 minutes, and then you're going to do it again. So both, you have weightlifting, monostructural, and gymnastics all built into a sprint interval-style day. We do a bunch of those as well, and that's something that I think has evolved, me personally as a programmer over the years as well. I think I've also, as the years have gone by, rediscovered the beauty of strict work. Strict pull-ups are just wonderful, and on top of other things as well, be it strict ring dips, strict whatever, but the beauty of strict work. And that statement doesn't live in isolation. That statement shouldn't be quote sniped as taking the fact that we don't like kipping. Still program far more kipping than strict, but if you look back through, just scroll on the CrossFit Linchpin website or Instagram page, you'll see that we're not afraid to program strict pull-ups, for sure, or just put in strict handstand push-ups, strict ring dips, whatever it happens to be. So yeah, we do plenty of that as well. Kipping is still very cool. Of course, respecting the heavy days. That's a classic thing that I think has been unwavering. Scaling is cool. That's another thing that I think has been an evolution for me personally over the years. From when I was a knucklehead first getting into CrossFit, again, 15 or 16 years ago, to how my thinking has evolved now as well, is scaling is profoundly cool. Scaling is so awesome. RX workouts are for chumps, okay? Joking, kidding, joking, relax. But point being, scaling is, there should be no stigma to it whatsoever, and I've been trying very, very much to, if anyone does feel like that is a bad word, hopefully make it so cool and so acceptable and talk about it so much that any stigma should just be gone. Scaling is fantastic, and truth be told, more people should probably scale more often. I mean, that's the truth right there. And we did a podcast maybe within the last 2 or 3 weeks, and the title was something along the lines of basically reasons why you may want to consider scaling a workout even if you can do it prescribed. There's even a reason to scale it there, and all scale means is modify. You're just modifying it a bit, and that's great. That's intelligent, right? If something in the prescribed workout just isn't appropriate for you, be it the loading, the overall volume, the time domain, and maybe the movement, you're not quite there yet with an overhead squat, a squat clean, a back squat, whatever it happens to be, well, you're always authorized to make an intelligent decision and modify the workout in a way that ideally preserves the stimulus of the workout, but it just meets you where you are on your fitness journey. And of course, we provide as many of those tools as we can with all the various workout options and the daily videos, and scaling is very, very cool. So that's evolved for me a lot over the years as well. And I just put after that, meeting people where they are and providing them the tools and education to make good decisions. I'm willing to die on that hill. That's a fantastic thing that I wish I'd just started trumpeting a bit sooner, quite frankly. Sprinting, I wrote that down, but I guess I kind of covered that in intervals before. Sprinting. I mean, we, on top of intervals being Latin for fun, as we say at Linchpin, we are not afraid to sprint. I love you all, right? I mean, we're friends, and I truly, truly care about you. But while I care about you as a human being, I don't care what you like to do. And that's just my role as programmer and coach. Care about you, care about your development, don't care what you like to do. You don't like 6 by 400 meter repeats? I don't care. Not many people do like them. But they are wildly effective at making ferocious beasts of fitness when properly put in with other things in the programming. And so I'm not going to pay attention to anyone's feelings, and we're going to program sprinting because it drives the needle forward. 10 by 100 meter repeats. We're going to program that, and we're not going to put anything else on the docket that day. And if you properly execute that little gem, it's going to deliver the goods. Okay, what else? I guess the general encapsulation is less is more is another thing that I shouldn't say I have evolved in over the years. I think I've always been somewhat of a purist of the one workout a day, quite frankly. But less is more. I just can't emphasize it enough. It truly is, especially in today's day and age and what everyone's exposed to with various CrossFit, athletes or just protocols that you'll see online everywhere. And that's, the less is more is also roped into my final point of what's been a constant evolution, a constant development process, and my constant personal pursuit as the programmer that I want to be and the programmer that I want to deliver to the world. It's not only less is more, but it's that eternal pursuit to deliver the maximum dose of fitness, true fitness, as defined in the What is Fitness article, the maximum dose of fitness in the minimum package. And again, that's the true beauty and difficulty of effective, elegant programming, that you can do one workout a day and have it cascade into so many other areas of physical competency. That's amazing. I mean, that's, if you're deadlifting all the time and your deadlift goes up. Well, that kind of makes sense, right? Like you should, whatever you do all the time, ideally you're becoming more proficient at. But what's awesome and I love, and that's what gets me fired up about beautiful programming is, well, what happens when you don't deadlift all the time and your deadlift still goes up? That's cool. That's beautiful. That's confusing to the individual athlete, but it's possible and it can be done. What happens when you don't back squat heavy all the time and mysteriously your back squat still goes up? You scratch your head. That's awesome. That's beautiful. That is the constant, relentless pursuit. And that's what we're doing ideally every day. Linchpin. So yeah, great question. That really got me. Thinking. So that was the first one. All right, second one. This is from Ben Yu, and Ben asks, okay, if you go prescribed, but you hit a reasonable time cap, not a crazy elite standard, but a reasonable time cap, did the clock scale you? After all, you didn't do all of the workout that was required. Many affiliates have time caps that are well planned and reasonable in order to keep classes running on schedule and help maintain the intended intensity. What are your thoughts? Makes a ton of sense to me. So I would say, well, I guess to answer your first question, if you bump into the time cap and you stop at the time cap, did the clock scale you? Yeah, I mean, I guess we could have a discussion over words and scaling and whatnot, but, I'm not so sure the clock scaled you. It just, logistically, you had to stop at that point in time. We would have to have more information about what was the workout, and I guess you said a reasonable time cap. So let's assume that the time cap that was put in place at an affiliate, because hey, you're in the 5 p.m. class. The 6 p.m. class is coming, my friend, okay? And so at a certain time, the trainer running that class has to not only manage the people, they have to manage the clock as well. The wonderful thing about working out in your garage, you can dilly-dally a bit during the warm-up if you want. Maybe a warm-up that should take 12 minutes. You just have it take 18 or 19 because you're just fiddling with some music and whatnot, and you get distracted or whatever it happens to be, and you're going to do just some extra warm-up sets because that's what you want to do, and that's, in my opinion, the beauty of working out in my garage. But if you're an individual managing a class, you can't really let the 12-minute warm-up drift to 20 minutes. That's not something has to give. You ate into some other time somewhere. And if you know how long the workout roughly should take, and then we've got to put the gear away, and that's roughly how long it takes, and we're going to do some cool down and stretching, that's roughly how long this takes, well, then you have to put out some sort of a reasonable time cap for everybody in the class. And if somebody is still going when the time cap hits, they're going to have to stop because the train's got to keep moving. We can't miss the next stop. And so a time cap in an environment like that makes all the sense in the world as far as I'm concerned. All the sense in the world. And then getting back to your question, if you bumped into the time cap, did you get scaled by the clock? Well, if the workout was appropriate, if the time cap was appropriate, and you bumped into the time cap and you did it prescribed, well, it's like how much did you bump into the time cap by? Okay? So let's say the workout's DT and you're sticking with 155 and it's a 15-minute time cap. Okay, let's just throw that out there. And you bump into the time cap. Well, where did you bump into the time cap? Were you in the hang power cleans in round number 5? Okay, you're really, really close to getting it done in that time cap. Were you on the hang power cleans in round number 3? Okay, well now we have something different going on that you certainly, based upon that data, probably should have scaled the loading, scaled the reps, scaled something, because that was not the proper decision given the intended stimulus of the workout, given the time cap and all those other factors. So time caps certainly have their place. And while we don't use the phrase time caps, on the private tracking every workout that we give, we give two goal times, right? One is a super fitness robot time, and one is a more likely time. And the super fitness robot time is just like it sounds, like it's you can be hard charging to get it, and but it's not wildly. I don't want just some games athlete to be able to do it. Like, there's plenty of hard workers that will get the super fitness robot time, but you worked for it. And then the more likely time is where I expect most people to fall. That would be the outer limit there. But I'm also very open to saying that those two metrics as well, they're not 100% rigid, unwavering. You got a bit of a strike zone there, okay? Because let's say if you've got 100 people doing the same workout, that's a lot of different fitness levels, a lot of different skill sets. Everybody slept different the night before. Everybody might be feeling the day previous workout slightly differently. And so while you might be able to give some darn good advice to most people under most circumstances most of the time, there might be a couple people in that 100 that go a little bit over the time cap or a little bit over the goal time, and it's still okay. I mean, getting back to that example, if you had a 15-minute time cap on DT and you were in the middle of the hang power cleans when 15 minutes hit and you wound up finishing DT at 15 minutes and 41 seconds, I would find it really hard to believe that somebody could be like, nope, it's science. At 15 minutes, it was okay, and at 15:41, you made a terrible decision. That 41 seconds changed everything. It's close. It's really close. So that's the other part of all of this, where there is science, there is math involved, but then there's also the human condition, and that's where becoming a coach and having a knowledge of yourself and your community and your client, and if you as an individual athlete having knowledge of self and educating yourself and improving your CrossFit IQ, if you will, that will only allow you to make better decisions in more circumstances, in more workouts, and life will be good. So, I wrote something else down about that. I started rambling there for a second. My apologies. So, the other question could be, should you always have a time cap? Right? I mean, that's a rabbit hole that we could go down. Usually you definitely want to have something in mind because there is an intended stimulus of the workout. That all of those things aren't just random. So yes, most of the time you want to have an idea in mind as to how long this should take. I'm going to make sure I do it appropriately so that I come in around that time. But not always. There is a place and there is a time to disregard that. Getting back to what I mentioned previously, those not for time days. So what happens on a not for time day if you go way over what would be an estimated goal time? Nothing happens. I'll give you an example. So Monday's workout, if I remember correctly, actually this works out well because I spoke about strict pull-ups earlier, had a bunch of strict pull-ups. Monday's workout was for time or not. It was also our not for time option. 100 air squats, doesn't that sound beautiful? 25 strict pull-ups, 75 air squats, 20 strict pull-ups, 50 air squats, 15 strict pull-ups. So what's that? For strict pull-ups, it's a set of 25 and 20. That comes up to 45. So there's 60. There's 60 strict pull-ups in that workout. 60 kipping pull-ups in a workout is a fair amount of pull-ups. This had 60 strict, and I've intentionally made that day the option for not for time because there is value every now and then of, look, let's say that you can do some strict pull-ups, and let's say the more likely time in that workout, I do not recall what it was. Let's say the more likely time was 15 minutes, okay? And you're like, ooh, I think I'm going to be close to 20 minutes if I actually try to do all those strict pull-ups. Like, I'm going to have to break them up a lot. I'm going to have to take some good chunks of rest before I hit the pull-up bar again. Great. You know what you did in that day? If you didn't run the clock and you allowed yourself to take 20 or 22 or 25 minutes on that workout, you basically did what you would do on a 7x1 back squat day, right? Each one of those 7x1 back squats is so heavy. Well, why don't you just do one set of 7? Well, because you'd have to lower the weight, right? Because each single is so challenging and so hard that you need to rest 3 to 4 minutes before you can back squat it again. And you know what happens? You get stronger, right? You allow yourself that rest because it gets you stronger. A lot of people get that on barbell days. You can do the same thing on a body weight day. So now, treat that day like you would a heavy day, but it's for gymnastics. So you go on that first set of 25 pull-ups. Maybe you're going to do it in 5 sets of 5, but in order to get it in 5 sets of 5, you're going to have to rest 45 seconds, 1 minute between each one of those sets of 5. Cool. What happened that day? You improved your strict pull-up capacity, and that's wildly beneficial. And there's be plenty of other days where you're kipping and doing other things, and it was a non-stop workout. Those ones are more common. So every now and then, allowing yourself to treat a day kind of like you would a heavy day, and break it up and take your time and just build that strength, it's fantastic. And hey, maybe you drifted outside of what the quote-unquote time cap was. It's okay. It's okay. You could play the same game with JT, 21:15.9, handstand push-ups, ring dips, and push-ups. Interference through the roof. Well, maybe if you can't blitz that workout, you can take it as a not for time day. Take all the time you need. Break up all those things as much as you need. And at the end of that session, if JT takes you 35 minutes, you know what you did at the end of that session? You became, after your body recovers, more competent at pressing movements. And that's fantastic. And so, that's why a lot of these things are not just a hardcore yes or no. There's a whole bunch of beautiful nuance in there. And a lot of this beautiful nuance, getting back to Valerie's question, wasn't readily apparent to me 17 years ago, right? It just takes time. So, okay. 2 final questions, but they'll be quick. I somewhat promise you. These are from the BTWB squad. We got a question from Josh M. He loves lifting. Just loves lifting. That's okay, right? Says he loves to do some extra squatting, deadlifting, whatever it happens to be, and just wants to do some in addition to Linchpin workouts. What's the best way to do that? I've done a full podcast on this before, and it was basically the difference between want and need. And as I've said before, and I said in that podcast, you do not need to do any extra lifting. You'll get plenty strong, but you may want to, and that's okay. You live in a wonderful world where you should do things that you enjoy. So if you enjoy some extra squatting or deadlifting, or if you enjoy some bicep curls or whatever it happens to be, and that keeps you happy and fired up, and then you walk into the gym more regularly, that's a good thing. So, Josh, do you need to do more? No, you don't. As a matter of fact, on this last week as well, we did Murph on Monday, and then on Friday, I think we did 7x1 back squat. And as I said, it was just raining PRs at all levels, at beginner, intermediate, and advanced, right? And you would expect beginners to improve their back squat because they're beginners, right? And so doing anything almost is going to help them out. And then PRs become less frequent, for the intermediate athlete, but they still have them with some regularity. And then when you're advanced at like the upper tier of some strength numbers, the PRs are few and far between. That's just the way that it works. And we have athletes at all of those levels improving and setting PRs without additional lifting. We had a ton of gentlemen squatting north of 400 pounds for a single, to include an individual that PR'd the back squat at 515 pounds, which is astonishing. So point being, you don't need more. But if you want it, do it, knock it out, have a blast. Truly, you have my undivided, my true blessing on that. And I would highly recommend, as I've said before, the BTWB specialty programs. There's like 15 or 16 of them to help you get your first pull-up, first handstand walk, first push-up, first toes to bar, first whatever. There's a back squat capacity program, a deadlift capacity program, snatch, clean and jerk, I want to say bench press. and you can get one of those and layer it into your training once, twice, 3 times a week, whatever you so desire, and everything's laid out right there. So I would recommend you check those out. And on the home screen of the BTWB app, if memory serves, tap the 3 dots or 3 lines. 3 dots or 3 lines. You'll get a drop-down menu. One of those items will say Programs. Tap on Programs, and then select the one that you want and have a blast with it. And then final question, which I don't want to let the cat out of the bag too much on this, and I can't give you a timeline, okay? But Thomas G says, what is a good way to build that engine alongside doing regular workouts? I know it's unpopular, right? People don't like sprinting and running and things like that, but that's what we do. We do what's effective, not what's popular. Thomas, so because he says there's not a BTWB provides excellent programs for bench press, muscle ups, snatches, but no program to get better conditioning. For now, my friend, for now, there's something in the works, and I'm working with someone to make that happen. So I can't give you a timeline. Be patient if you can, and it should be worth the wait, and I hope that you enjoy it. So that's that, and we'll end with one or two just Linchpin shoutouts, and we'll call it a day here. So let's see, Linchpin shoutouts. Okay. This is called First Prescribed Grace. Okay, let me open it up. This is from Jennifer R. Everyone in the community knows Jennifer. Of course, her background photo was something from Star Wars. She says, just wanted to say and give a not-so-humble brag for a moment. Let's see. Carrie S. and her, another Linchpin member, were discussing possibly going RX on Grace today for the first time ever this week, and we wound up doing it. Pretty darn proud of us today. So for her very first time doing prescribed Grace at 95 pounds, 4 minutes and 38 seconds. That is extraordinarily impressive to go a sub-5 Grace the very first time that you decide to do it prescribed. So congrats. And I'll do one more here. This is entitled 3 Kids and Heavy Barbells. I don't remember what this is, but the title drew me in. This is from Matt N. And this is when he did sets of 5 hang squat cleans, which we programmed a while ago. I think it's a wild card option. Yes. It says CrossFit Linchpin, thanks for having the wild card option. I had all 3 kids today, all 5 years old and under, with me in the garage/driveway, and it made it way more comfortable to be able to lift heavy and not feel unsafe back squatting with them so close. Gotcha, cool. So it was a back squat day as a prescribed workout. We gave hang squat cleans as the wild card option, and they worked out very well for Matt so that he didn't, injure his children. As a general rule, you don't want to injure children. Just throwing that out there. All right. So as we always say, if you're doing Linchpin out there, you're part of the community, shoot a video of where you work out in your fire department, military base, basement, apartment, garage, whatever it happens to be. Put it on YouTube. Email me that video to info@crossfitlinchpin.com, and then I will put it on the CrossFit Linchpin YouTube page under our playlist that's entitled Garage Gym Tours. So that's that. Have a wonderful day. Enjoy the rest of your rest day, and we'll talk later.